Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in the garage for another First Impressions and Garage Gun Talk. And tonight I want to share with you my experiences with a firearm and a suppressor that I literally just got back from the range filming content with for upcoming range reports. And I want to talk about the big news of the day in the firearms world regarding the Supreme Court accepting a case out of Hawaii, which was kind of a surprise, but it's a very specific case and deals with a very specific issue dealing with concealed carry. And I know all of the firearms legal eagles are having a grand old time with it. Everyone's excited. I had 3 people reach out to me telling me today, you got to do a video on this. This is amazing news. It's going to be, you guys know how I am, okay? I'm going to rain on your parade. And I'm going to tell you how this is either going to be neutral or bad for us, okay? But I'll get to that in a second because I know a lot of you guys are just here for the guns. You don't care about my politics or my political opinions or judicial opinions or legal opinions, whatever. So let's talk about the guns first. So the first firearm I took to the range is a really cool one. And it's one that I always kind of feel out of my wheelhouse with because I do not consider myself a long-distance shooter. I only have access really to a 100-yard range, which is not far enough to really review rifles like I'm going to show you because this is a gun that can go out to 400, 500, 600, 700 yards, no problem. However, living in the big city, I do not have access to longer distance ranges. Now, listen, if you live in the North Texas area, and you have a 1,000-yard range on your property, your farm, your ranch, and you are willing to have me come out on my time when it's convenient for me to film content with amazing guns like this, let me know. But until that day, when I have access to that type of situation, I have to review it in the place I can review it on. So I know people always get on my case and go, that's not far enough. You're not really showing what that rifle can do. And that's a fair point, okay? But I'm just going to review this as an average gun guy that gets to shoot amazing guns. And the amazing gun I did take to the range today is the Geissele Mk1. And this is a precision rifle, dedicated marksman's rifle, but it is based off of the AR-10 platform. But there are a few upgrades, like internally in the upper, there is a steel, I don't know if it's a sleeve. Anyway, it allows the bolt and the cam pen to run on it without really wearing out the aluminum that you typically get on AR pattern rifles. We have a really cool ambi lower, but being a gas gun, a semi-auto gun, it's not going to be inherently as accurate as a bolt gun. So I believe it's kind of supposed to bridge the gap between I guess certain types of sniper rifles or DMRs, but it has a few military contracts on it, and it's considered to be exceptionally accurate. I can tell you it is exceptionally heavy, which is actually a good thing, but this one is chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, okay? And it is a big boy, 20-inch barrel. And this zero compromise scope is absolutely amazing. But let me tell you, when it comes to these AR-10 pattern-ish rifles, this is one of the nicest ones ever. So, how did it shoot? Well, this is the softest shooting AR-10 platform rifle I ever viewed. It is really a pleasure to shoot. To my surprise, I don't think the trigger's all that good, but I shot it really well. I kind of feel like the trigger's a little bit on the heavier side, but I'll have to get out the gauge and measure that. But it was okay. Accuracy, it wasn't the most accurate, but I think a lot of that was more me than anything else. And the other issue I had at 100 yards when I was trying to shoot like the tightest group possible was the mirage off of the suppressor. And it was a lot more than I was expecting. And the suppressor we are going to be talking about is the Huxwrx. Man, I can't even read that. I know, my eyes are getting bad, but it's one of these flow-through cans. Man, I could not see that. The Flow 762, I don't know what that is. Man, I'm telling you, when you hit 45 years old, your eyes start to go. I'll have to go, like, take a picture. But honestly, it is like not engraved on the side very much at all. So it's really hard to see. But anyway, it's one that I have not reviewed, but the mirage on this can is pretty bad. So I was having a hard time at 100 yards after you shoot 5-6 rounds through, because it starts to really affect your what you can see in the field of view through the scope. But I can tell you this gun is very consistent, very accurate. It's very heavy, very comfortable to shoot. I did do some tests with it because I have to, and I know people are going to go, that's what that gun's designed for. I did shoot it just kind of like standing up from the shoulder as a carbine, I guess you could. Not many rounds. And it's just too heavy. It is designed to be shot, prone from a bench, and it is just a great rifle. And I have to say, if I was going to get any AR-10 variant rifle for this purpose, I would definitely and strongly look at this one. This one was really nice, and Geissele has put together a fantastic package. So I honestly just need to do some more research on this gun, look at all of its features. I really need to investigate the trigger, and yeah, it was just a great gun. I mean, there's not really much to say unless you're into this type of gun. But I had a great time with it. I shot it well. Not the best, but man, is it comfortable to shoot. It's awesome. It is so soft recoiling. So guys did an amazing job with that. The suppressor, we've already talked about, the Huxwrx, and I will get you that model. I will probably put it in the description of this video, or the title of this video, so you can actually see it. So this can is I think it's a 7.62 can. So you can shoot 6.5 Creedmoor through it. It works really well with the 20-inch barrel. Suppresses great. The flow-through baffle design, which you can see the end cap there, definitely works. I didn't get a lot of gas behind the gun. Does not really, actually makes the gun shoot better suppressed, more consistent, which is typical when I do the ballistics and point of impact shift test. It does have kind of a big point of impact shift. I did discover that. But ballistically, it shoots way better suppressed. And then it does pass my heat test where it gets pretty hot, but it cools off really fast. So it's like the other Huxwrx cans. It's a good one. Now, I will tell you my personal opinion on these Huxwrx cans. I do not like the way that they look. I just don't. It has nothing to do with its function. I'm just going to tell you from an aesthetic standpoint, I don't like this look. I don't like the front of this. To me, it's too complex. I don't know. It's just not my thing. Okay, and if you love it, and that's great. But as I said, it works. And all the Huxwrx cans that I have reviewed have worked really well when it comes to what they do internally. I really feel like the B&T cans, and I recently reviewed the Combat Application Technology suppressors. They have the same kind of baffle design and idea. I just like the way those end caps look. This is just too fancy for me, but maybe I'm just old school. But you might absolutely love it, but it does not affect the functionality. So the suppressor ran great. This is probably going to be another 4.5, 5-star review on a suppressor. I just don't like the way it looks. But that's just me. Okay, so that's what I took to the range, and it took me a long time to film. But I'll try to get some pistols to the range maybe tomorrow, maybe Sunday, because I got to take my SIG P365 and the other 2011 that D has lent to the channel. So we'll get that going. All right, so let's talk about the Supreme Court. Now, I know that I rain on people's parades, and sometimes I am a Debbie Downer, and I am sorry. It is not because I want to be. It's because I like to think that I'm a realist. So let me explain. If you are honest and true to yourself, you know that we get these occasional Second Amendment wins, whether they be in legislatures or the Supreme Court. And inevitably, we celebrate, we think it's the end of this gun control, and then other states, the blue states, the usual suspects, and these district courts and these circuit courts always find a way to get around it and use what should be a case that overturns gun laws and gun control and actually enhances the gun control. So let me explain, okay? you guys remember, I think it's Heller versus Washington, D.C. Well, that case said you cannot ban firearms used by civilians that are in common use. Okay? Now, to all of us, that means if a lot of civilians have them and use them in whatever capacity that is, you cannot ban a class of weapons because of that. And we're like, yay, gun bans are gone. You can't have blanket bans on this. It's going to drop assault weapons. It's going to drop all this kind of stuff. I mean, drop assault weapon bans cases. It's going to end all this stuff. And where are we now after Heller? We still have the same laws in the books. Why? Because the circuit courts looked at Scalia's decision where he said the only guns you can ban are those that are dangerous and unusual. Now, in normal English parlance, those two have to go together, dangerous and unusual. So if the gun is dangerous, which almost every gun is, you can't ban it if it's not unusual. But if it's unusual, but it's not dangerous, you can't ban it either. It has to be dangerous and unusual. Well, of course, some district courts interpreted that as, well, if it's unusual, you can ban it, or if it's dangerous, you can ban it. And then we have some courts that have said, well, if it's not in common use for self-defense. Well, that's not what Heller said. Heller's case wasn't common use for self-defense. But now that is a legal precedent that you can ban a gun like an AR-15 because it's not common use, even though they admit it's in common use by civilians, but it's not in common use for self-defense. Therefore, assault weapons bans can remain in effect. That's how they do it. We get a victory, we think it's over, and then all of a sudden, the courts use words and languages and weird rationale to continue gun control or to even expand it. Okay? Even look at the, was it the NYSERPA versus Bruin, the whole concealed carry case. You know, yeah, I guess you now have states that have shall issue, but that's what this next case is going to deal with. That now states are pretty much like Hawaii, California, New Jersey, New York. They make everything a prohibited place or a sensitive location. And they use weird terminology and weird rationale for it. So in Hawaii, I guess if it's private land that's used for public use, unless you have strict permission by the owner to carry a gun, it's considered to be prohibited. That's what the Supreme Court is going to take up. They're not going to look at Hawaii's larger thing. It's one aspect of that law that they're going to accept and review. And here's my opinion on what's going to happen. Now, we're going to get some good news like always. The Supreme Court, without a doubt, is going to tell the state of Hawaii, this provision is unconstitutional. You cannot do that. Okay? And they're going to write an opinion with fuzzy language that I think for most people we would clearly understand what it means. The average person would go, oh yeah, they're saying Hawaii can't ban this. But this legislature in Hawaii and judges in Hawaii and the Ninth Circuit in California are going to take it upon themselves to dissect this opinion and find some awkwardly worded sentence to uphold the law. So what they'll say is, for example, let's just say, and by the way, I love Justice Thomas. He is absolutely amazing, and he'll probably be the one that writes the opinion. He will try to be as clear as he possibly can, and he will say, Hawaii cannot ban the carrying of firearms on any day of the week. And for most of us, we would go, he obviously means you can't ever ban the carry of guns in public places any day of the week. So what Hawaii will do, now I'm not saying this is actually going to happen, but this is how they think. They're going to go, okay, but they didn't say we can ban it any night of the week. And because there's always some part of the earth that is in the night, because it's a sphere. Yes, sorry, flat earthers, it's a sphere. that it's night somewhere. Therefore, they didn't say we can ban it because it's not happening. We're not banning it during the day. We're only banning it at night. Yes, that's it. Or let's say Thomas says, trying to be as clear as possible, you can't ban it on any day that ends in Y. Well, Hawaii would go, in the native Hawaiian language, the way that these names are spelled ends with an E and an I. So we're going to officially change the names of the days here in Hawaii for official documents. Oh, look, none of these days end in Y anymore. Well, the Supreme Court clearly said we can't ban it on days that end in Y, but they didn't say anything about days that end in I or E. And then all of a sudden, the bans are there. The Ninth Circuit will look at it and goes, sounds reasonable to me. And then we're stuck with the same laws again. You know that's going to happen. The only way this nonsense is going to stop, the only way, is if we can get 5 justices to vote for an opinion that can be written by Justice Thomas that just says this. It's 1 page, like 1 paragraph. You can't ban this under any circumstances. Period. End of sentence. Done. That is it. No, that is why it's never going to end, because they're going to try to use rationale and logic, and he'll try to be as clear and concise and as thorough as possible. And these people will misconstrue the words, find some weird way to interpret the words where it doesn't apply anymore. You know that to be true. Okay? So do I think we're going to win this case? Well, absolutely. I think we are. But nothing will change. Nothing. In fact, Hawaii might pass more gun control because they'll get justification from the Supreme Court being like, well, as I said, like, they can't say we can't ban this way, so we're going to do it this way. And it's like, oh, yeah. And then we have to wait for the whole thing to go through the district court, then to the Ninth Circuit, then to the en banc panel, then to the Supreme Court, and we'll finally be able to revisit this in 20 years. That's the way it works, guys. It's the way it works. And it also pisses me off, and this is another reason I'm mad about this, is we all know what the big prize is. The big prize is for the Supreme Court to take up an assault weapons ban case or a high-capacity magazine ban case. That is what we want. Okay, great. We have a little bit of a carry ban on public places in Hawaii. Good. Okay, great. But we're not getting the stuff we really want and know we really need. And when the Supreme Court takes up a Second Amendment case, they often do not take multiple Second Amendment cases in a short period of time, which means this is going to be the case they take up for the next 2 sessions. Like, that's it, guys. They're going to pass on all other Second Amendment cases. They're going to be like, listen, we heard a Second Amendment case. You can't bother us anymore for a while. We'll look into the big stuff 3-4 years from now. You know that to be true. So there you go. So I know I'm a Debbie Downer. I know I'm raining on your parade, but today is a nothing burger. In fact, it's probably bad news. I would honestly rather the Supreme Court not take it up, because they're going to write a fluffy opinion that Justice Thomas probably thinks is thorough and clearly states you can't do this thing. And sorry, my dog's barking. And then they're going to find a way to still do that thing because they're going to do wordplay. You know it to be true. Search your hearts, and you know that I'm right. And you can reference this video in the future and go, son of a bitch, that asshole jerk, Jason, knew it. He called it back then. Because this happens over and over and over and over again. We get all excited, and then all of our hopes get get trampled on. That's it. It happens every freaking time, and we act like we don't remember it. Maybe our memory is only like 3 minutes long. I don't know. So this is a nothing burger, guys. I'm sorry. I know I'm the only one on YouTube saying it, but mark my words, it's not going to be good. In fact, it'll probably be bad, because they'll say something and other states will use it as justification to get around the opinion and still ban things even more. So there you go. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know, am I a Debbie Downer? Do you agree or disagree with my opinion? And it's okay if you disagree, just be respectful about it. And if you want to participate in the word of the day is going to be heavy. Heavy is the word of the day, which I think I've used before, because this Geissele Mk1 is heavy. So thanks for joining me here in the garage. Let me know your thoughts on the gun, the suppressor, or the Supreme Court. So, as always, thanks for watching.